friends. I'm Dr. Prasanna Gadre, skin VD specialist and sexual medicine physician. I witnessed today the LGBTQAI plus Pride March that happened on 5th June 2022 in Deccan area on Ferguson College Road. Well, basically, this is a classical example of democracy where the march was being done by the LGBTQAI community of the community, but definitely not just for that community, but for the entire society. Now, what is the Pride March? The Pride is having happiness, comfort, satisfaction of one's own being, becoming, characteristic features, whether of the body or of the gender, whatever, or whether it's a sexual or of the mind, of the existence, and also basically we can say that it's a consciousness of one's own dignity and equality with other human beings and at a global or humanitarian level. Well, friends, we encourage through the Pride March for the people, that is, these people to come out, that is, declare their gender identities and orientations. With the same thing, I would myself declare as I am purely cisgender, a heterosexual human being, and with a hetero orientation, and a straight, a forward, and a straightforward person. Now, the LGBTQAI has been extended to LGBT double Q, then uh, two states, I and double A. So it has what I could say, the coach of the train has increased, and some of the terminologies, they belong to the gender identities which happen with the mind and with the spirit. Say for example, the trans man, the trans woman, some of them are related to the biological sex. Okay, say for example, intersex. Some of them are related to the sexual orientation, that is the love, affection, and the sexual gratification or the pleasure which people get either with the same sex or gender, you can say, or with the opposite, that is the homo or the heterosexuality. So there are so many terminologies. Now, what is important is the existential things that are along with these people. And if you happen to see from prehistoric times and historic times and from civilization, we can make out that human being as a species, we have made extinct so many other animals. There are so many species on the verge of extinction. Then a typical kind of a treatment was been experienced by people who never had power or money or materialistic possessions and recognition. Now, what happens to this LGBTQI community since last 200 years or more so, and especially more from postmodernism, that is 1960, and not only to those people, but to the peasants, to the farmers, the laborers, the workers, the proletariat, and even with the women, with the children, with the senior citizens. Okay, and uh, with any person who is having no power position, then even it did happen, unfortunately, because of the casteism with the so-called untouchables. It happens with the psychiatrically ill patient, the mentally retarded patient, those who are having less IQ, and even with the people who are being having a disease like tuberculosis, leprosy, HIV, AIDS, and presently last 2 years even corona. So just like in corona, people were quarantined, even the purpose was definitely different to avoid the pandemic, and it should be done, there is no doubt about it. But even after the 14 days, the corona people, they have told me, the patients and even people in my social circuit and network and relatives and friends, that the way in which they were perceived by other people in their social network was not really very good. So so basically what happens with all these people, the extinct species से लेके, जैसे मैंने बोला कि any person or a human who is not having power, recognition and position or money, वहां से लेकर LGBTQAI community तक, the things which happen with them is that they are unfortunately, some of them could be in majorities and some of them could be in minorities, but unfortunately it happens with them is that um, they are basically dehumanized, they are denigrated, and that happened even with the slaves, isn't it? And uh, they are sort of discriminated, then they are marginalized, they are isolated, they are abandoned, and they are made the objects of ridicule, and even they are victims of the sexual harassments many a times. And even with even with their family, friends, acquaintances, neighbors, in the community and in the habitat where they live, and even at a working place, occupational place, or their workplace, they are sort of ignored, they are isolated, they are neglected. And because of all this, what happens is that there are they really have to sort of face huge amount of sorrow, isn't it, and trouble and a discomfort, and a lot of shaming and damning is being done. A lot of guilt is induced, shame, shyness, everything is induced, all negative emotions, and a war starts in form of us versus them, or we versus you. And all these people which I have said, and the extinct species of other animals, isn't it? We never enter their minds, that's a problem. Is that they suffer a lot of tyranny, exploitation, and existential crisis. The main problem is as regards their survival, life, existence. They have an identity crisis. A lot of inferiority complex is being induced in them, and ultimately it turns out to be a self-esteem issue. So I basically, as a sexologist and a doctor and a counselor, I work upon these facets of their existence with the help of psychotherapies and existential therapies and the talkotherapy. And other doctors also happen to do that, of course. And that is very much required in order to induce pride, induced, what I can say, upliftment of their spirits, where not even they, but even others. Okay, the family members also require counseling of these people. So so basically, their acceptance of self has to be increased, and for other people in the society, as regards this community or these human beings, I would say a lot of understanding is required. And my approach is purely from an evolutionary, biological point of sense, from psychological point of sense, from medical point of sense, and this is very important. And ultimately, see, tolerance has to be increased, isn't it? We have to accept the fact that these people, they do exist, and we have to respect them as human beings. That's very important. And friends, I am saying this not for any kind of socio-political reasons. I do not belong to any cult. This is a disclaimer. I would say I do not belong to any specific party, or I am supporting anybody's political agendas and ideological systems. Nor also I am an ally, LGBTQAI, और उसका जो एक्सटेंशन हुआ है लास्ट में 2A है, तो द लास्ट वाला ए जो है वो एली. So ally are heterosexual straight guys and girls, but to support their activities. So I am neither, of course, I support these activity, but typically I am not an ally, though I had witnessed how the things takes place on 5th June 2022 in the afternoon. And I am also not an activist in the sense that, see, an activist is a person who has some maybe socio-political agenda. It's not a question of good or bad. And he is being charged with with certain ideologies and thoughts. Well, my approach towards to this existential thing of we human beings is purely from a medical and a psychological point of view. I am basically a student of philosophy and of almost 10 to 11 branches of humanities, and I deal with the patients from a philosophical, psychological, medical point of view. Patients, clients, or I better say individuals rather than labeling them as patients. And uh, uh, I take huge amount of what I can say support from the science of genetics, from the science of evolutionary biology and anthropology. I specifically wanted to say this, and that's very important. So, and what I want to say is that the Pride March. So I begin with Pride. Now I will end with March. So this March means like a warrior or a soldier. Okay. So symbolically, it means that these people, उनका कॉन्फिडेंस बरकरार रहना चाहिए. So they should march like brave soldiers, okay, with the full of courage and confidence, with the full of accept, admit, acknowledge their LGBTQAI status. And this march is always a peaceful march. So they do not want to attack anybody, and not in the radicalism sense, but they are just what I can say, pleading for the acceptance of what they are being and becoming. Okay, so that is what it is, friends. And I would say that ultimately we are all humans. And if you ask me, then my मेरा धर्म या मेरा रिलीजन क्या है, धारणेति इति धर्मः, धारणेति इति धर्मः. So I dharan science. My religion, of course, I am a human being, so existentially I am going to be a human species. It goes without saying. Why should I say that I am belonging to humanism dharma? We all are by default since we are humans. But my dharma is science. Okay, so and with an empathy, I would say, because science deals with logic, science deals with the existence and the beauty of that existence, and always answers why so. Okay, why LGBTQAI are likewise, and there are so many answers hidden in the nature and evolution, which I happen to take help of to counsel the people. And that's very important. And science is not emotional as such, but I practice science with passion, and of course, there is also science of emotions. And this is very important that with these people, we should help them to realize their essence of LGBTQI, help them to stabilize and make themselves comfortable and their emotions as well, and help them to experience their gender identities and biological sex and the gender orientations in a healthy way and express it in a healthy way. This is what is required, and I try my best to help in this way. And the video is been intended with this pure intention. Take care. Bye. And we all are humans. Let us stay humans along with other species on this planet Earth. Move on.